starting with the independent investigations into the violence that took place at the aid distribution sites, can they lead to any tangible results?
Thank you so much for having me on Qnews. Of course, it's a first step. The statements of Guterres, the Secretary General of the United States, to open an independent investigation is the start of this investigation by some international entities. There is a state of global outrage and European outrage, in addition to the Egyptian and Arabs being upset of the killing of unarmed civilians even during obtaining humanitarian aid. I think this crime, as stated by one of the UN officials today, is he said that there is civilian killing going on, which also, in addition to the crime of killing the innocent civilians, going to only get humanitarian aid, which is a crime against humanity and a complete war crime. These statements, in addition to the Secretary General of the United Nations statements and the global outrage at the Israeli crimes committed against innocent civilians under the pretense of providing aid and relief, these are war crimes, and I think that during the upcoming few days and hours there will be a tendency by international entities and organizations to pursue this lawsuit. Of course, it will gain momentum from the international community, including the US administration. In spite of the latest Witkoff statements, the United States is not pleased with the course of the negotiations that is being hindered by the far-right Israeli officials.
Now, sir, sorry to interrupt, but speaking of the international community, can it have a role in restoring the functions to the UN to make it responsible once again to deliver the humanitarian aid to Gazans?
I think that we might be heading to this direction with the failure of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and some of its staff running away either from Tel Aviv and the complete lack of desire of the staff to continue their work and opening investigations and the killing of tens of Palestinians near the distribution points. I think with this ongoing chaos of the US Foundation and the lack of experts, the UN experts in this process, there will be a very good chance to restore the functions of the UN relief organizations.
And adding to that, sir, what are the consequences of the UN Human Rights Office alerts that Israel's actions might amount to war crimes?
Of course, it's a clear sign that there is the global outrage against the Israeli practices against unarmed civilians, even during the distribution of humanitarian and food supplies. The chaos that took place, in addition to killing civilians on their way to the distribution point, especially the ones going from the south back to the north, it says that there is a good chance to restore the functions of UN and international organizations, and this humanitarian distribution thing must be assigned to the experts, and restoring the relief mechanisms with the engagement of UN organizations. There are more than 1,000 trucks waiting in Arish to enter, and there are attempts with Qatar, the mediator, to facilitate the entry of humanitarian aid